All right. So you all should have gotten that now. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight for the Pittsburgh Ultimate Board of Directors Candidate Forum. A lot of words there, but we are super grateful that we have all 5 of our candidates joining us tonight. In addition, we have a few audience members, and hopefully we'll get some time to answer some questions at the end as well. So to start off, I'll introduce myself. I'm Elle Udiauer. I am the Vice President, currently serving on the Board of Directors. I've been serving for a year. It's been a great experience, and I've been a part of the Pittsburgh Ultimate community for probably around like 10 or 12 years, though not most of those playing on the field. So our elections this year, we have actually 4 positions that are open on the board. This is due in part because we updated our bylaws last election. And it's also the reason we're having elections right now at the end of the year. That was another one of the bylaw changes. So our officers that are going to come on will be able to choose between 2 different term lengths, and we'll talk about that with the officers that come on. But we have the opportunity, all of our community members can cast 4 votes, and it is general election ideas, no super voters or electoral Congress, nothing of that here. So all right, I am now going to ask all of our candidates to introduce themselves. And I'm going to start off with Andrew. Could you please unmute and introduce yourself?
Just my name, or would you like more than that?
Give me a little bit story of how you've been involved in Pittsburgh Ultimate.
All right, great. So hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Miller. I am a resident of Mount Lebanon. I moved to Pittsburgh in 2013. Following my partner here when she got a position at a company called Merkle, which is a marketing agency. I have worked remotely for the past 7 years, so a little bit before everybody else started in COVID. And during that time, I discovered Ultimate, actually through Pickup. And that kind of sparked my love for the sport. And it gave me an opportunity to do something outside of working from home all the time. So as with any person playing Ultimate, it kind of becomes your absolute passion and obsession and your entire friend group. And it has been just a wonderful central part of my life for the past 7 years, something that I have thoroughly enjoyed and challenged myself on and tried to find new ways to contribute back to the community. And I think that this is one of those ways that I'm going to try and do it. So that's me.
All right, thank you so much, Andrew. All right, Donald, will you introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. My name is Donald. I'm a Pittsburgh native. I graduated back in 2010 from Williamsburg High School. I actually got introduced to Ultimate in high school. I had no idea about the organization. I just had a friend who invited me to play Ultimate, and I was an overly aggressive football player, like playing Ultimate like that. And then I moved to Austin, Texas, and got involved in playing Ultimate. And I moved back up here in 2016 to take a job after finishing grad school, and like fully just was all in for Ultimate. Just kind of how Andrew mentioned, it becomes your ethos as a person, just playing Ultimate. So I came up and I played pickup a lot. I got into leagues. I love to play Winter League pretty much every year. I love Winter League. Play some fall, some spring leagues. And then recently, the last 2 years, played with the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds. And even the year before that was their like trainer, I guess. I have a small business where we've done a lot of workshops with Pittsburgh Ultimate when it comes to different aspects of this training for Ultimate. So that's a piece about that. I moved back here in 2016 after school. Had a job with the county, working in social work for almost 2 years. And then over the last 4 years, almost 5 years, I've been coaching, and just started my business 4 years ago, leaving that job. And I've been in Pittsburgh playing ever since. I just moved to Greenfield from Swissvale this year. And that.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Donald. All right, Evan, could you introduce yourself?
That's fine, yeah, mute button. Hey everyone, I'm Evan Gross. I am a Pittsburgh native. I grew up in Squaw Hill and have lived in Squaw Hill for almost 30 years. Right now I live in Shadyside. I grew up playing Ultimate, learned it in high school at Alderdice. So I've been playing for 18 years. I went to college at CMU, played there, was playing in rec leagues while in college, stuck around after college, played more rec leagues, eventually got into club, helped captain and run 3 different club teams over the years. This past year, I helped create a masters team and run that one. And I've served on boards for the past 4 years. And I was one of the major architects in some of the changes that we're seeing come through right now, such as having a larger board and having elections in November as opposed to in the middle of the spring. So I've been around. I know most of what organization does. So it's been a fun ride. And I look forward to getting a chance to be on the board for 2 or 3 more years.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Evan. All right, Kira.
Hello, I'm Kira Harborn, and I am not a Pittsburgh native. I'm originally from Nebraska, and at the time had never heard of Ultimate Frisbee at all. And then I moved to Pittsburgh for college and followed a friend to tryouts for Danger at Pitt and just was hooked ever since. And throughout moving to a few different places and back and forth in and out of Pittsburgh, have really enjoyed being a part of the Ultimate Frisbee communities and the places that I've been in, playing in rec leagues and on a club team and various tournaments, and have been on the board since 2018. And currently I'm serving as the president of the board.
Awesome. Where are you right now? We just have to ask.
Oh, yeah. Tonight's the last night of the casual league in South Park, and I didn't want to not play at all because, you know, there's always the issue of not having enough women on the field. So I came and played the first 4 points and then hopped on the Zoom, and depending on the length of the game and the length of the Zoom, and just trying to do the most of both that I can.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. And Steve, I would love to have you introduce yourself and give us your history of Ultimate.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. So I'm Steve Estes. I live in the North Hills here, following my wife who grew up here. I'm originally from Boston. So we moved here in 2019 from New York. I grew up, I happened to be introduced to Ultimate in high school. I was lucky enough to play, and it was just unlike any other sport that I'd played growing up. You know, we had dance parties on the sideline. We had fun even when we lost. It was just a different experience for me. I kept on playing in college and joined the adult rec leagues in New York after graduating, and started to think, how can I make this better, you know, more awesome for more people, and ended up offering my help to help organize. So tackling field permits in New York, which is kind of a brutally competitive process. So I got into Ultimate organizing then, you know, founded a lot of tournaments, helped facilitate a lot of other leagues, helped sort of learn about the different parts of the community through that whole process. Because if you're dealing with the permits, you're kind of touching every little thing that goes on. You know, I think one club tournament we started called The Incident had like 45 teams in 2019, including I-79 and Eliza Furnace. So, you know, I've had a chance to get to know Christy, get to know what's happening here, and learn from different organizations around the country. And so when I moved here, you know, I found a well-organized community for Ultimate already. And, you know, there's a sense that Christy doesn't need a whole lot, just give her an opportunity. I reached out and said, how can I help? She told me to coach a high school team. You know, every time there's been an ask from her, from the group, I've tried to raise my hand where I could. And this was another opportunity where I felt like my background in organizing over in New York and you know, other experience I've got gave me an opportunity to help and give back. So thanks.
All right, thanks so much, Steve. All right, so I have a few prepared questions I'd like each one of you to answer. And I will call on each of you in various orders of people. But the first question for us is, I would like to ask, which of the 4 Pittsburgh Ultimate values most resonates with you? And so those 4 values are fun, excellence, growth, and community. And Steve, let's just start with you. We'll go backwards through the names this time.
Yeah, sure. So I think for me, I'd say fun. I think if you make the game fun, then the experience of being in our leagues and tournaments is fun. The process of learning is fun, and we'll see growth, we'll see community, and excellence will be there for the people who decide they want to pursue it. So that's sort of my highest priority. I think that's a big part of the why bother of playing Ultimate in the first place.
All right, thanks. Kira?
They all definitely play in together, but the one that really resonates most with me is community. I mentioned in my introduction that I've moved a variety of places, and a lot of those times I didn't know anyone in the city that I was moving to. And so I really fell back on having the Ultimate community as this really welcoming community, this really lovely group of humans to be able to connect with in the new places. And I don't think I would have made it through the year I spent in Maryland without the Ultimate community. And part of why I want to be on the board is because I want everyone to feel like they have that, and they have a group of amazing individuals that they can turn to when they need a group and when they need support.
Thank you, Kira. All right, Evan.
I think I'm going to echo what Steve says. I think the most important thing is that it's fun. We are a recreational sport. We're trying to get people to have fun with the recreation, do something physically active, and something that makes the community potentially better. I think if you're not having fun, you're not going to get people to come out, do the community events, do games, and that's the whole point of a rec organization, in my opinion, is to have fun. Everything else stems from there. It can build a great community, which I think we've done. Excellence, if you have a large talent base, you're going to get more people who are talented and be able to perform at a higher level. And growth, if people are having fun, they're going to do word of mouth marketing to their friends, and it'll grow from there. I mean, that's what we have to focus on at board, is how to support it. But if it's not fun, everything else is going to crumble.
All right, thanks. Donald.
The one thing that resonates the most would be growth. In looking at opportunities to play Ultimate, being able to have more and more opportunities to play Ultimate, these things all feed into each other. And for me, and just how I view things, being able to have those opportunities allows for more excellence because of more players, more fun because we can play more often, and then also being able to actually be that spirit of Ultimate. And there's newer youth being able to play. There are more opportunities for organizing aspects of Ultimate. There is more of a push to acquire more fields, more teams, having more youth clubs, being able to have more people doing the adult clubs, the leagues, and really being able to grow the sport. It's a newish sport to the more casual, everyday person. More and more I run into people who are starting to, oh, I've heard of Ultimate. Oh, you play that sport? Oh, I've done that before. Oh, maybe I'll come one time. And or at least just putting it on their radar and being able to grow that. And, we can see just with participation with community events, the more Ultimate specific events of just playing, how having more people and more opportunities to do that feeds into the enjoyment of everything that really allows the community to grow and, be a much more, maybe better environment.
All right, thank you, Donald. All right, Andrew.
I feel like this is waiting to get back on my fantasy football draft. But so the one, I thought about this question quite a bit, and I'm gonna say excellence. And I say excellence not because I don't think community or growth or fun is important. All of those things are, but I think that the way that I'm wired, and I think that the way a lot of Ultimate players are wired, is that they want to do the absolute best at anything they're doing. right? So if I'm going to be joining this board, I want to make this organization go from good to great. I want to make the community go from great to amazing. And I think that excellence, we should be striving to create an excellent community. We should be striving to create excellent growth opportunities and have excellent fun, right? I think that that should be our focus is growth and creating an amazing, excellent community. Because if we can do that, I think a lot of the other things are going to help. They're going to take care of themselves. So to me, I would say that that's the most important pillar in the Pittsburgh Ultimate Value pyramid or building cathedral. I don't know what we call it.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you, all of you, for your answers to that question. I think we should keep those saved as just put the answers. Why do we have these values up on the website? Those were all great. All right, so for our next question, I'd like to ask each of you, tell me about a skill that you developed or an experience from your education or profession that you think you can use to directly impact Pittsburgh Ultimate. So this time, I'm going to start with Kira.
Okay, so my job title at work is Augmentative Communication Specialist. And if you're not sure what that means, you are with the rest of my coworkers who have no idea what it means and will come to me with any task and any issue and think, oh, well, you have some sort of title that I don't understand, so you're the person that will solve this. And to be honest, I love it. I love having all sorts of completely random novel challenges to have to solve at work that have nothing to do with my background and nothing to do with what I'm actually supposed to be doing according to my job description. And it means that I've gotten to learn a lot of really cool things in areas that I would not otherwise have learned about. And it means that I've gotten to interact with people that I probably wouldn't have spent that much time with. And I think that same mindset is really useful pretty much anywhere in life, but also specifically on the board, because you never know what you're going to have to deal with. I mean, obviously none of us expected the global pandemic, and that was a big thing to deal with over this most recent term that I've been on the board. But it could be a completely different set of challenges next year and the year after that. And so I think I'm pretty well prepared to just take on whatever issues as they come and solve them, and to do it without having a ton of resources, because I work in a nonprofit and I work in a school, and I really, really wish that schools in America had better resources, but they don't. So I'm also used to having to just really be innovative with how I tackle problems. And I think that that skill translates well to a lot of things in life.
Thanks, Kira. Donald.
One thing through my journey back in college, in high school, I never considered myself a creative person. And then as I kind of matriculated, as I got older into my 20s, this idea of, oh, you could be creative at making things that are, just in your head and making them into reality. So thinking about an experience I had when I was in grad school in Austin, my background, is in exercise science. This is what I do now. And in this process, I try to find opportunities to be able to coach and help. And I did a 3-year run from 2016, 2017, and 2018, putting together coaching clinics in East Africa. I had built a network of people in Kenya where I literally flew over there and we did week-long, the first time was actually 2 weeks long coaching clinics. And having this loose idea that popped up while I was sitting in an apartment in Oakland that turned into actually doing that a few years later, and organizing, how do I find these people that live halfway across the world, and being able to put together this cross-cultural program to actually do that and come up with a way to make this thing happen out of nowhere. And that was in a solo effort, but even more recently, one of the boards that I'm on, community first tenants in there, and in the process, they were like this social enterprise, and still like a for-profit business. And I was invited onto the board in the process of turning it into a nonprofit. And all these ideas for global business incubation work, being able to actually help the ED and the other board members who had these, and even the founders who had these ideas of what the organization could be, and being able to play a role in creating where we are now, where we have staff, we have these programs, we have businesses that are in there, being able to fund, grow, And, again, going from these ideas that, people just had and being able to work in a team environment to actually go create that, and being in a situation actually where I'm just playing a role of providing ideas and providing these aspects of work, these insights, and being able to actually see, hey, there's this thing I'm thinking about doing that people want to have happen, and being able to actually create that into reality, which is helps with this idea of being a creative person when it comes to making stuff happen.
Thank you. All right, Steve.
Yeah, so I work in tech startups, and I'm the former founder of a startup myself. And one of the reasons I like working in that field is that the kind of people you meet there, many of whom have like an optimism about them, a willingness to try new things, an openness that's not unlike what you see among Ultimate players. And I think what that's given me is sort of an instinct to fight back fear of failure and just try stuff and see if it works, take the initiative. And I do that in my work. I do that in my other Ultimate volunteering. My wife doesn't always appreciate that instinct, right? But I think that attitude is an asset to a young, growing organization with the ambition to share our sport with more people, and one that wants to be constantly asking the question, how can we do better? So I think that's one thing that I bring to the table.
Thank you, Steve. Andrew.
Yeah, so my background is in education. I have a bachelor's degree in secondary ed social studies. I've worked in higher education. I now work in higher education technology. I absolutely am laser focused on increasing youth play opportunities. And I think that, my background and experience with education and my coaching history with the Mount Lebanon Ultimate team can directly help the community. I think that there's so many opportunities to inject education into our leagues currently. I think the casual league is there's a lot of like opportunity there for us to provide some better materials and guidance to our captains, so we can really cultivate just amazing play in those leagues and get people interested in continuing to play in Ultimate and interacting with us in several new and different ways. Also, I've played in just about every league setting, club down to pickup. So there's a lot of people I know too. And I'm really interested in bringing the community together in new and different ways.
Thank you. Evan.
Well, I've spent the past 5 years working for the city of Pittsburgh, so my background is in governance, which I've spent most of my time at Pittsburgh Ultimate is on making us as a board operate better, smoother, more efficiently, and smarter. Way back when it was a little bit of a chaotic board, they decided meeting on a month-to-month basis. Into that was a very big early victory. And then, as Kira alluded to, the past 2 years has been a little bit of a crazy show running this organization during COVID, when there was very little insight from anyone on what we should be doing, how we should be doing it. And it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. It was a good learning experience, and it definitely helped me grow as a person, because it showed how to be a manager. You have to be circumspect and look at things from all sides, as opposed to just being like, well, I'm going to do this and just go ahead and do it. You actually have to be like, well, you have to take into thoughts of how this is going to play, how it's going to affect others, and and also how you communicate those decisions to other people, which I think Pittsburgh Ultimate did a pretty good job of over the past 2 years, of being very open with everyone on what we were doing and how and why we were doing it.
Thank you. All right. So the third question that I'm going to ask is, what is a tangible way that Pittsburgh Ultimate can be more inclusive? And for this, let's start with Andrew.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of opportunity for learn to play, like clinics and different events that we can put on with area schools, clubs, nonprofits. Creating partnerships with places where we may not have looked for partnerships in the past. I think that there's plenty of organizations, whether they be nonprofit or clubs throughout the city, that we can cultivate and build inroads and create new networks. And there's plenty of people in our community today that we can ask for, are you a member of these different organizations or different areas, and then explore those and help strengthen those connections. So that would be one way that I would try and help make a more inclusive environment.
Thank you. All right, let's go, Kira.
So there's one thing that I have been wanting to do since I found out about it, which was not very long ago. I really want to take the opportunity to use the Sports Matter grant from Dick's Sporting Goods that provides funding to youth sports teams. I'm pretty sure it's in all 50 states, and it's for teams that just need help with funding to reduce barriers to entry. And I think that would be huge if we were able to do that and use that here. And I think it would make a big difference for reducing barriers. It would be a really good way to keep working on the youth initiatives that we've talked about a lot. But, during the pandemic, everything just got a lot harder to put on. But that's one thing that's on my list that I would really, really like to take advantage of.
Thank you. All right, Donald.
Specifically for me, there are two communities, one being the greater Pittsburgh community in regards to people of color, especially like a lot of these Black residents that are here in the eastern suburbs too. In a lot of these communities, football and basketball are like the main sports. And, quite frankly, not everybody's going to be able to do those things in college. But what happens with some athletes is, you go all in on football. I think of my nephew a lot. I talk about my nephew and use him in analogies for everything. And he's somebody who I brought to play Ultimate. He likes Ultimate. He loves football. And he might go play football in college, but he's not going to be somebody who's like a four-star recruit. He's going to probably walk on. But he may or may not play football a lot for the rest of his life. But Ultimate is a sport where you can meaningfully play for decades after your high school career is over, after college is over, and have a meaningful community experience. In wanting more athletes to actually be able to have that experience of, hey, maybe I was a football and basketball guy, or maybe I played soccer, but going out of high school, if you didn't go play in college, then you might stop playing sports altogether. And Ultimate being the type of community where it's very encouraged for you to keep playing year round, stay in shape year round. I play flag football. It's not the same at all with, the culture of that. Like, we got guys, they come out and they're hardly in shape week after week. And I'm like the most in shape person on the field. But it's because Ultimate breeds that desire to do that. So being able to reach out to those athletes in those communities who finding another outlet, especially something they can do long term. And I'll just deal with that one for now.
Right, thank you. Let's go, Evan.
To increase our inclusion, I think we really have to build off the work that our community integration committee has done over the past 2 years. During COVID, they did tons of outreach and community events trying to keep everyone in touch when things were very dark in the world, and I appreciate the work that they did there. The biggest thing I think is trying to expand our reach as an organization. I think Allegheny County has, somewhere around 40 school districts. We have programs in maybe 15 of them. So there's 25 school districts that we should strive to get a foot in the door, have some relationship with, try to build something within those communities and try to increase our youth presence there. And then trying to find other ways to reach out to old Ultimate players who are no longer playing, get them somehow involved in our community. I've been playing in Pittsburgh for 18 years. So there's 1,000 Ultimate players older than me who for the most part don't play. There's a handful of the old timers left, but there's not many of them left, and trying to tap into their knowledge, their experience, their vision, and just get their stories of how they got to where they are now and how Ultimate impacted them would be useful, and also potentially build bridges between our current members and the city and the community at large, which we're the community of Pittsburgh Ultimate. So we have to have some connection with the city and trying to work with them to make both the city better and our organization better.
Thank you. All right, and Steve.
Yeah, so one thing I've noticed about the Pittsburgh Ultimate community that's different here is that the youth scene has been around for so long. I think in the early 90s, we had something like 20% of the all national youth memberships for USAU. That like our rec and draft leagues and community are largely populated with people who grew up playing the game to some degree, discovered it earlier in life. And so our demographics reflect who had that opportunity. So if we're going to be more inclusive, we got to be more inclusive along that same path. And so I think if we're going to be proactive about it, it should be to offer and facilitate getting Ultimate into more schools, particularly in underrepresented communities in the greater Pittsburgh area. We know who they are. I'm sure Christy has had conversations with some of them, but I've spent some time learning from the brilliant salesman who built the 35-team New York City High School League, who happens to be Black, about how he approached schools and got them interested and had those conversations and ran, clinics that made an impact and got people playing consistently. I've kind of studied the youth programs from different organizations around the country. The one that really inspires me is Grant Boyd's one out in LA, where his mechanism of making it happen is to train the teachers. Started as a phys ed unit, facilitate getting that to a pickup game, and offer the teachers free memberships, free entries into rec leagues so they can play themselves. There's lots of different ways you can approach it, but I think as a board, we need to be able to sustain the focus on taking a particular strategy, building long-term relationships with those athletic directors, with those phys ed teachers, and that's where I want to make a difference.
Right. Thank you so much, Steve. All right, I'm going to open it up now. And if any community members would like to ask a question, please just unmute yourself. If you don't want to be spoken on the screen, ask it in the chat, and then we'll have our candidates give some opportunities for answers.
Can I go?
Yes, please feel free.
Okay. This is not a very well thought out question. It was sort of just brewing in my head as I was taking notes on this. But I'm thinking of my own experiences, and like as Steve mentioned, like I learned to play in high school in Pittsburgh, so I've been at it a long time, and I played a ton of pickup when I was like 16, 17 or so. I like pickup seems a little it seems a little disjointed at the moment if I like had to put a label on it, because of like post-pandemic, and then I think people were kind of scrambling to play again. So like I guess my question is like what improvement would you make to pickup in Pittsburgh, and like also what's a good way to get more women out and playing, because there just doesn't seem to be a great representation there. Yeah, I don't know, just like, or whatever random thoughts you have on pickup and how it just could be better like in the spring, because we have the winter to think about it and make some moves.
I'm just going to leave this open. Whichever candidates would like to answer, unmute yourself and go.
Yeah,
I'm going
so
to
that's
try to answer if I can, because my phone is on very low battery and my external battery is not working. But I would love for us to offer more pickup opportunities. And it is tricky because if we're going to offer something, then we need to pay for the field space, but pickup is best when it's spontaneous. And so that's just a tricky component to figure out. But if we were ever able to get dedicated field space, I think that would be the biggest possible thing. Obviously, that's not a thing that we're going to be able to do by spring, but then we would be able to have a field where we could have all sorts of different specific groups that we're trying to pull in and be sure that we're going to be able to play there. But that's more of a long-term goal And in the short term, I think having fields that we've reserved for other things, but for a little extra time so that we're able to use it for both pickup and whatever the event where people pay registration fees is, to be able to pay for the fields that we're reserving would be a good way to start trying to work on building up on the pickup community, and hopefully bringing out more people that might not be interested in playing in a weekly league or might not be interested in some of the other opportunities.
Thanks, Kira. Andrew.
Yeah, I just want to echo some of the things that Kira said. I think that pickup is like one of the purest expressions of Ultimate, especially in the fact that it's spontaneous in many cases and grassroots. So for that vantage point, I would never want to change that. But I think that you get better play and you get safer play when you have organized, consistent events that are happening on a weekly or every other week basis. So some of the things that we've done in the past is we've had Masters pickup, or we've had, space at the Oval that, people couldn't use or we reserved, or even Andrew Gardner, who's on the call, had time at the North Park field. I forgot what it was, where he said, hey, this is time that you guys can use for pickup, and we've taken advantage of those. So I think that if we can find opportunities where CPU can, facilitate pickup, we absolutely should, because as Kira mentioned, it's a great way to introduce people to the sport in a very non-threatening, no pressure way.
Couple thoughts about those two things with pickup. The way that, you mentioned how it kind of sprouted into these two pickups. I personally actually really like that. I think that each pickup has their own personality, and it creates an opportunity where, like, I can go to one pickup Saturday at 11 and get one flavor of playing Ultimate with maybe a bunch of like people I'm very used to playing with, and then go another day and a bunch of people that I have never really played with, or it's not over a long period of time. And would love to have opportunities like that throughout the week. Of course, as weather and field space permit. And in thinking about with getting women involved, and of course being able to use pickup and learn to play as the ways to get people in, because I don't know of people other than maybe like particular high-level high schoolers who get into Ultimate straight by club. Most people that I've met, at least my experience, get an Ultimate like pickup, or they went to like some more laid-back function about Ultimate. And for me, I have a very particular community that I'm in. I'm a high school track and field coach. I'm a club track and field coach. And I also play Ultimate pretty competitively. And so I'm always looking at that aspect of things. And if there's one glaring aspect of Ultimate that separates certain types of players, it's speed. And I've talked to a couple of track coaches, and I've had my own kids from my high school team play Ultimate, and I've had the girls learn how to throw flicks in the gym when we're just having more laid back practices. And trying to like figure out how can I breathe that into an opportunity to like get these teenage girls to come and play at pickup, because they're like, hey, you come to pickup, laid back, but you're probably faster than most of the people there, and it's an opportunity to have fun and learn how to do the skills, and people are very friendly, so you learn how to do that. And so wanting to find, how can we find more communities like that, and just be in touch with people who might have these pockets of people that they can bring and introduce to the sport. No expectation that all these people are going to just drop everything and start playing Ultimate, but that they get exposed to the sport, they learn the sport, they get to know the community. Maybe while they do other things, it's a great thing to do in their off season. At least in that particular demographic, when I think about track and whether it's softball, volleyball, whatever. But can this serve as something that they do within their greater, sphere of what they do competitively? And with the long-term hope that they make this one of those lifetime things, because track and field, one sport that unless you go pro, you stop doing at 22. Most people stop doing at 18. But if you love to run, unless you start running 5K, if you're a sprinter, you're not going to do that. So Ultimate is a great outlet.
Yeah. Thanks, Donald.
All of those are great ideas. I was really observing the same sort of disjointedness that you're talking about, Janine, a few weeks ago, noticing that sort of we're supposed to have a pickup page on our website that catalogs the groups, and it's wildly out of date. I just started pulling together a list of the groups I knew about, went to Christy, tried to facilitate sort of refreshing that. I feel like CPU can be a facilitating point for people to find a pickup game, find new pickup games, find one that fits them, and help the self-motivated organizers who want to start their own game and give it their own vibe, to find people and to promote it and sort of give it that lasting stability and consistency. I think our region is one of the only ones where the games aren't posted on pickupultimate.com. Whenever I travel to another city, I'm always like bringing my cleats and checking that site, like, where can I find a game? I'm here for a conference, but maybe I can sneak out this one night, that kind of thing. And it's not there. So there's like lots of little organizing points we can do. I think maybe we can offer, little learn to play clinics or a clinic series kind of deal as part of Pickup to help people pick it up a little better. But in general, I think that we don't need to be trying to impose too much structure on it. We should just be a sounding board for discovery.
Thanks. That's actually, oh, sorry, Evan, sorry, I didn't realize.
You've known me for 30 years, Janine. Come on.
My bad. I thought you had already. Okay, sorry. Go.
Had not gone. I was going to echo a little bit of what Steve said. I think a great idea would be potentially for the board and Christy to go out and try to build connections with some of these pickup organizers and try to give them resources on how to make the game both more approachable for women and also just on how to welcome new people, because that's, as a lot of people said, that's the first way you get into Ultimate. I started playing Frisbee because some random kids who I was somewhat friendly with were tossing out in front of the steps of my high school. That's how I started. And that's like, if you can go into parks and have pickup games on a bi-weekly, weekly basis, like have a game at Boys Park, North Park, South Park, it would potentially give more players an opportunity to learn about Ultimate and to join our community. But I think we also have to train or work with the people who are going to organize that, so it's a good representation of our community and not just some random people doing something and destroying all the values of Ultimate that we try to uphold and represent.
Right. Thank you, everyone. All right. We have another question in the chat, and that is, there are multiple committees that exist as part of Pittsburgh Ultimate. Some are more functional than others, but all rely on volunteers or interested people to make things happen. And also Christy, of course. Any thoughts on how to kickstart the ones that are not really active, such as youth and fields and fundraising, and attract new and different people to committees in general to volunteer their time and efforts?
Oh, do you want to go first, Evan? Yeah.
As someone who's been on board for 4 years, trying to find additional volunteers is a ton of effort. And the people who volunteer our time, we greatly appreciate you, but the best way to do it is try to reach out to people who have interest in this, and then hope that they are willing to give up some of their free time to help improve our community. Fields is the one that I've been most involved in of the slacking ones. That one's really hard because it's such a broad topic, and trying to develop field space specifically for Pittsburgh Ultimate is a very rough cause. And you're seeing right now, even in Philly, they're at risk of losing what has been their dedicated field space for 25 plus years, I believe. And Raleigh and Triangle in the past 5 years had field space they owned, but were never able to develop it. So it's a matter of, I don't know if we want to develop our own field space or try to build a relationship with various school districts and various community organizations that have field space around, and just try to enter into some sort of right of first refusal on field space or field openings, and try to build a network of organizations that we work together with. I'd love to get back, and I'll stop there and let other people answer.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just add a quick soundbite on the committees. I've been a member of the Community Integration Committee for a couple of years before COVID. I think that one of the things that kept that committee, focused on actually like keeping everyone engaged and moving in the same direction was a set of goals and objectives, clearly defined goals. And for that committee, it was putting together the community event and the Battle of the Boroughs for the first time. That was something great that we were all working toward a common goal. And I think that every committee should have a set of goals and objectives that they're trying to reach.
Thank you.
So I'm thinking about the volunteers side of this. You know, we're, I think, different than a lot of other sports in that we rely so much on volunteers. And the approaches I've seen work elsewhere are to show appreciation for volunteers in lots more different ways. You know, there's lots of ways that you can thank them or have special events for them. And there's ways to make it more fun for them. Things like, you know, if you show up to volunteer at a tournament, you should get a Pittsburgh Ultimate shirt, you know, or a hat or something. Just like these little tokens that make people remember fondly the time they've spent putting time in. And I think we can do a better job of that all around, and that will increase retention. That will help us with you know, recruitment.
Anyone else want to pop that? Because we also have another question that I can ask.
I think that the things already mentioned are all important components, and want to acknowledge that we have some really wonderful volunteers that are helping on our committees and with specific tasks and task forces and all sorts of things like that. And recruiting new people to volunteer their time is definitely a challenging thing to do. So I think that a good way to get more people involved who aren't already involved is to just engage in a lot of conversations about it and validate good ideas when they come up. If someone says, hey, you know, I was thinking we could try this, giving them the agency and the power to try it, because people have fantastic ideas. And if they have the motivation to put them into action, then absolutely. That sounds fantastic. And I agree with Andrew that a clear set of objectives is very helpful. And I agree with Steve that having tokens of thanks is also a big part of making sure that people know that their time really is appreciated.
Right. So I'm going to ask our last question, and Andrew Gardner, please forgive me that we're running short on time. So I am going to ask, we'll keep our answers a little bit short so that we can try to wrap up at 8. But he had the question, what is your position in regards to the professional team in Pittsburgh? And would a more formal partnership be a net negative, net positive, or net zero change for the community of Pittsburgh Ultimate players? So any thoughts on our professional team?
You want to go first, Steve?
Sure. Yeah. I think we should, you know, be exploring any opportunity to work with them to, you know, achieve our goals and help them achieve theirs. I don't know what their goals would be, probably promotion through our newsletters and things of that nature. But I know, at least in New York, both Empire and Gridlock do a whole lot of work. You know, they run a lot of clinics. If we ever need volunteers for something, we can call one or the other up and they will make it happen. So, you know, I think that there's a lot that we can give each other, and, you know, I think would be silly not to listen. Now, whether that ends up making a meaningful impact to our organization, I don't know, but it's worth a try.
Yeah, I would agree with pretty much everything that you said, Steve. As someone who has watched several AUDL games from the sideline, it is really special. It's really special what Andrew and the team has created up at JC Stone Field. And I think that if we're looking to grow our community with excellence, I think a formalized relationship makes sense, so long as there is goal alignment, as Steve said.
In thinking about how we grow the sport, how we get more parties interested, and everybody has different motivations for their involvement with Ultimate, being able to have this professional team where you can actually go and watch Ultimate at a high level in your local area, which is something that I've always wanted to do with like club and watch clubs play locally, but it's very hard to do that just because of the way that it's structured. And for getting new people to actually go and watch and be exposed, I see it as something that can be a net positive, in so much as like the business end of things aren't part between Pittsburgh Ultimate and the professional team, as long as their goals, as Andrew mentioned, have some alignment there. I think that can work just for the sake of the people being able to see the sport at a high level, and for another opportunity, once again, for people to play and have some outlet to experience Ultimate.
I also am a big fan of working with the Thunderbirds where it makes sense and where our values align. I know they've done a lot of work working with Moxie in the past, and I know that that has been a very beneficial relationship for both Moxie and the Thunderbirds, at least from my vantage point. It sounded like it's been mutually beneficial. I should not put words in the mouths of the people actually doing it, but from my perspective, it's been good. And trying to build and see where else we can have mutually aligned goals and values. It's great. More Ultimate is always good in my opinion. So
I think working on civic initiatives would be great. The more people that we can work together with, the better, the more ultimate there. So just echoing a lot of what others had said. If there's another showcase game, that would be a really fun one to work on together. Youth initiatives, things like that. Great.
Thanks, Kira. I think your phone is going to give out on you in any moment. And I hope you're able to get back to your team. So I am going to wrap us up now. I want to thank everyone for coming to listen, for coming to speak on behalf of our candidates. Thank you to all 5 of you. You have honestly kind of been inspiring me and giving me great ideas, and it makes me really excited to work with 4 of you. I mean, sorry. But I'm really excited to work with this next cohort of board of directors that comes on. As just a reminder to those who are still listening, you can vote online, and that is at here, pittsburghultimate.org. If you are navigating it through the menus, you're going to go to About Us, Board of Directors, and then click over here, Candidates for Board of Directors 2022. You can read some more about our candidates, about what they've written about themselves, and then you can submit your ballot down here. Please remember, it is 4 votes. There was a little mistake on my part that said 3 before. It's 4, not 8, 4. So thank you, each of you. I really appreciate this, and we are going to wrap it up. Everyone have a good night.
Thanks for the questions.